Welcome to the latest in the Aras Innovator demo series, Collaboration with Context and Traceability Beyond the Four Walls of Industry. This demo will run for 30 minutes with no sales pitch. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that during the webinar, everyone is on global mute. If you have questions, please submit them in the questions panel and we'll answer as many as possible in the Q&A session at the end. Finally, this session is being recorded. When it is available, you will receive an email with the link. With that, Jill, do you want to get us started?
Of course. Thanks so much for that introduction, Brenna. Making digital collaboration work for work has a lot of different considerations in it. So I think the most important one for all of us is security. We have to make sure that the systems we're using protect our identity and our company's intellectual property, right? So I think of that as like a narrowing kind of pyramid or triangle, working our way from our company, maybe Outlook and Teams, those kind of platforms, down to our coworkers, if we get into Teams projects or OneDrive, all the way down to our team, our immediate smaller group of coworkers that we need to collaborate with. And when that's around a project or a program, it can be even more sensitive and need even greater security. When it's around a customer, now we're talking the highest levels of security and protection. And does that still exist across those digital collaboration platforms we're all trying to engage with right now? The next consideration for me is traceability. How efficiently can I find what I need? I find myself thinking, did I store it in Outlook? Was it in my OneDrive? Was it in my Teams folder? Or did it get into that Teams chat with somebody? Maybe you experience this where you have now, it seems like dozens of different places that information could have gone. And in trying to go back and figure out what that decision was you made or why you made it, you have to look around at all these different sources now, which can be tough and is even tougher when you're talking about product quality and trying not to repeat the same mistakes. I might not be the only one who needs insight into why I made that decision. Other colleagues might. Somebody that's coming back to kind of recreate my work or see what I've done might not understand why I did this if I can't even find my own stuff. So this is pretty important, is this traceability when we're talking about product development and manufacturing. And looking across to context next. For me, this is the distance between the conversation I'm having and the data I need to find to do something about it, right? So this is that time it takes me to say, great idea, to my coworker's email or text chat, and then go and look for the work that I need to do. I get so distracted, especially right now. I'm in my home with my family, and the distance from that conversation to the work I need to do can sometimes trip me up. So accelerating the way we work together is really key. And that context also needs to be appropriate for the discussion. It's the reason I've never LinkedIn messaged my mom or Facebook messaged my boss, right? Context matters. Where you're holding these conversations is actually really key to their security. Can other folks get in and look at them who maybe shouldn't? And it's also key to their traceability. Is it stored together with the data that you need to work on? And is it kept as a record inside of that system in order to make a little track or record of the conversations that led to the decisions that you made about a project or a program? So these are all kind of intertwined concepts. And in light of these, we'll think about these for our demo in just a minute, but I also want you to think about them in terms of how it's working right now for your colleagues and you. So let's talk about what we'll see today in Aras. We're going to take a look at the capability known as visual collaboration. I want you to know before we begin that this is a subscription-only feature. Of course, we have our free download of Aras. You can download it, use it, do a lot of great stuff in there, but this is one of those features that we're holding for our subscribers. It applies to all applications. So what you see today, you can open up in any application, and you can also turn it on inside of any application. So that applies to your custom build applications. If you're in there building new custom applications, item types, or customizing ours, you can turn on and off this capability that we'll see today. And in fact, if you need more information about that, you can go to our blog. There's a little series on creating an application, and one of the series includes turning this on and off and getting it to work for your team's needs. Looking next, what do these words mean? We're going to start with the secure social piece. I like to call this one collaborate in context, because you can't get away from the fact you're inside an item in Aras Innovator and you're seeing the discussion related to that item. The only people that can see the discussion that's happening inside of Aras and inside of what you're going to see today are the ones with permissions to access that item. It's very strict and it inherits permissions as you go up. So comments roll up from the child to the parent, and if you only have access to one of those levels, you'll only see the conversations at that level. You'll also see how visual collaboration preserves a record in the digital thread right there with the item types of all the conversations that went into creating that item and all the changes and all that kind of tribal knowledge that people were thinking about and discussing as product development went on. So a really valuable record of how they arrived at their decisions that's not always captured in things like an ECO. It's kind of that informal back and forth that your team has around product development. You have an opportunity as even a non-CAD user or non-engineer to have this very simple and intuitive interaction with the CAD data. You can use a lot of these CAD tools. You'll see explode and measure and cross section and different faces and stuff. And you will be able to mark up the CAD with a lot of really robust markup tools. Even if you don't have CAD, you don't have plugins, you might not even know much about CAD, but they're really intuitive to learn. And it's a very flexible experience. So your admin controls this on and off, if it's available to you or not. And again, you can see more about that in our blogs. So let's quick cut over to the demo. So what you're seeing here is the document item type. You have all the metadata about that document, and you have the files. This is a Word and with a PDF viewable. Right up here is our icon for visual collaboration. We can just open up the discussion thread, and we can see the past discussion that coworkers have had about this document. Scrolling down throughout, you can see when the first draft was complete. You can see a bit more added, review process, and then finally a more recent comment about extending the paragraph. So to look at what was snapped here, this little thumbnail, we grab it, just click on it once, and you can see what the commenter was referring to. And this is a viewing window, but it's also the same window you might recognize where we will see the PDF live. This is just an image, just a snapshot. And I'll show you how to grab one. It also happens in this window. So just recall that we'll see the form metadata here. And just up here, we'll be able to get into the live viewable of this document. So this is a PDF viewable of our Word document. We can scroll down. There's a bunch of things up here to zoom, etc. And suppose we want to add another comment. So we've seen that another paragraph was added, and we wanted to be sure the business requirements were also reviewed in order to cover off on the new sections. So let's make a comment about this. To mark up exactly where we want to see the changes made by our team, we would click over here into the markup. We'll use the highlighter tool and grab this section and make sure that Terry over here knows to update it for Diane's new paragraph. So let's make a note to Terry. So we can @tag people. Just start typing his name with the @tag, just the way you do in a lot of social media platforms. And right here, by default, it includes the snapshot that we've built in the viewing window with the markup tools. So this is a very similar concept to what we'll do later on with CAD. We'll hit comment, and it'll be bumped to the top in the discussion window just here. All right, and we can even go back in and look at our own markup if we wish. So a few more features of this discussion thread. We can search messages right here, so we know that that conversation had the word clearance in it, and only that one will pop up. And if you have a really long one, there's a lot of different search options as well. And let's clear those searches. Right here, we can see another kind of review mode where each of the thumbnails grows bigger. And we can also choose to sort by date of the thread or date of the message. But suppose that Terry isn't right inside of this item. How does he know that we've just tagged him? How does he know that he has some action to do from Mike? So there's another part of the interface you can go into that lives here in the table of contents under My Discussions. So My Innovator, My Discussions. And that takes us into an entire window devoted to your discussion content. So you'll see every message for an item that you're a part of. So Mike Miller will see his new comment we just made right at the top. And he'll then be able to sort by a lot of different things throughout the system. So you can imagine this would get very long and unwieldy if every discussion you're a part of appears. Can also be helpful, but you might want to narrow it down. Before we look at the options to narrow this down, I want to show you a few more features. So this, I told you, appears in every application that you need. So we have nonconformance reports, parts, documents, ECOs, and it all works the same as the one we just looked at. But they aggregate here. So you're kind of looking across the platform into all the messages around really any part of the product lifecycle. There's requirements that you'd need, root cause analysis. So it's a pretty powerful tool. Also, if Terry wanted to make sure he got notified of this, he'd be able to receive notifications, and that's right here in the preferences section. So he can receive a pop-up in the web client. He can receive an email each time Mike makes a comment to him, or he can receive an email digest at the end of the day, just telling him what messages popped up. And of course, your admin could configure if that's daily, weekly, and then when it's sent, etc. He has the same search functionality and review functionality that you already saw. So let's talk about bookmarks. We can search them, of course. We're looking right now at all the messages across the system. If Mike wants to look at messages that he wrote, he can go drill down into the item and trace the conversation back through, or take a look at that item right here. He can follow different people. So just the way you would on social media, he can choose who on his team he wants to follow, and those are up here. And for forums, so in case you wanted to have a conversation that wasn't around a document, an item type, or something like that, we have created a kind of general forum here for how's our Aras implementation going, and that's also possible. And he can bookmark items. So here he's bookmarked an ECO and a couple of problem reports. I'll jump back into the item we were in and show you how to bookmark it. I do want to show you that from any comment that you see, there's kind of a link right here to get back into that item. So you can look into the version that the comment was made against, or just the current version. And you can open it right up into edit mode if you like as well. And from here, you can add it to bookmarks. We'll jump back into the version we were just in. And we'll take a look at another way to add it to bookmarks. That's just here in the action menu. So I want to show you next how the roll-up works. So if you've noticed, we're working in version B4 of this document, but each comment made against previous versions, there's A2 that was previously released, is rolled up here into one discussion thread. So you're kind of looking at a history of how this item evolved. And if we wanted to go back into an older version, we would do view this version and kind of take us back in time, which is really nice as well. But the roll-up is not just on versions, it's also on parent and child relationships, as we said. So let's take a look now at the where used, so we can see where this document is a child or has a relationship to another item throughout the system. So it's related to a project activity, it's related to a change as an affected item. We're interested in the part, so let's open it up. Here on the part, we can see, of course, all the components in a BOM structure if we like, and we can see that the documents will include this 101-2 we were just in. And I want to show you how the roll-up works. So we're going to go over here into the discussion. And of course, our comment up onto the top. And now looking down throughout all of the comments here, we kind of get this traceable record of pretty much all the changes and all the conversations that people were having around this product. So there might be a few things that we found before we even created a problem report or realized there was an issue. So as this goes along, we create a first draft. We added these pieces to the spec, right? Created a problem report about, let's see, customers having trouble inserting an SD card. So we're kind of making these decisions as a team, trying to figure out if we should create this problem report. try to find a solution to it. And now you can see our conversation about the solution. How far can we move the adapter? And we kind of have a back and forth about that. And it can be recorded visually and kind of look and see what people did. Here's the measurement, which way it should go. Got these nice markup tools. So you're looking at the evolution of this product in this kind of social collaborative way. So the one we're going to focus on next has to do with replacing the fan. So suppose that Mike, back here decided we want to replace with a higher performing fan. We can remove the thermocouplers. So he marked this up. Let's replace these, remove these. That's great. Take a look at the evolution of that fan. Now I've got 8 blades instead of 7. And now he wants to check on his team and see how this is advancing. We're going to go to view the current version and see how it's evolved. And in this discussion for this extruder assembly and its fan, we're going to see here just those comments about the extruder assembly and the fan. So now we're kind of filtering those down as we work our way down into the part. And as we go, I'll show you how to create this visual collaboration, this markup piece here. So remember that as we pop open one of these snapshots, it appears in the viewing window. And if we want to go and then create the markup, so we can mark this markup up, mark up the markup if you'd like a little further. But if we want to go and create a brand new markup, that starts from the CAD visualization. So this is the older one. This is the newer one. Just see any of these will appear here in the window, even if it's the older version. But we're going to start and show you how to create your own markup. So I like to start from the form. Remember, it's going to pull these CAD documents. Really, you can start right from this visualization. So it's pulling in all the CAD documents and giving you this viewer. So we have spin, we have zoom, we have pan, a bunch of really nice features here. I don't have any plugins, I don't have any CAD on this machine. This is all through the browser window, and I don't have to be a CAD expert. I just need access to this part. So I might be a reviewer, I might be a manager, I might be outside of the engineering team, and I can easily get in and say a few things about this to the rest of my team. So looking through all these CAD viewing capabilities, we have different display styles for the render that we'll see. All these wireframes if you like. I really like this illustration mode. And back to our typical wireframe view. We have an exploded view. Okay, where we can kind of look at each of these components one off. And let's say that Mike is now interested in these bolts just here that hold the new fan, and he's wondering, are these long enough? And have we double checked that this fan's not going to chatter loose when it's working? So we'll go next into show you guys the cross-section tool. So we have the Z axis, the Y. We'll do the X here, turn those on and off. And Mike's going to check it out. Does he think from the cross-section view, this is long enough? He's going to check it out, but he's going to ask his team to do a little more work on it. So we'll exit out of there. And to set up the markup, you're doing that here inside of the CAD while everything's still live and moving around and interactive. So to get this set up, he's going to hide a few elements. Over here's the model tree with every different part that's in this part, every different component in this part we're looking at right now. And we can turn those on and off. Okay. So he's got a good view of that bolt. He's going to take a look at it. And the last tool we're going to see here in the CAD visualization is the measure. So he's got the option to measure from point to point, angle to angle, measure the edges. He's going to measure between faces. Grab the back, grab the front, and show me my little metric there. Okay. He'll get a good angle on that for his team. Here's the distance I'm looking for. And once he's got that view that he likes, he's going to freeze it in time to create the snapshot, and that's right here. So we're going to grab the markup tool, And that gives us the ability to form these notes, to create these highlights. There's a nice little sketch tool. He wants to remind his team there's 4 of these guys. Check them all, please. Make sure they're all going to work. He'll leave a note here. All right, so it looks like Aaron on our team is running this one. We'll @tag Aaron. All right, and we'll go ahead and comment here. So we've seen how to create one of these markups, be it in CAD or in the PDF. We've seen how to go back and use the CAD visualization, whether or not you're a CAD engineer, and add markups to it. And we've seen really the value here in the digital thread of having the comments and the collaboration, of really understanding all the decisions that went into building this product out as far back as it started, and kind of understanding, that tribal piece, that what do we know that the system doesn't know yet, and how do we capture that in the system and ensure that it's there for the future as a record in the digital thread.